The tunnel shook as Jisoo and Velith ran. Behind them, the processing node began to glow brighter and brighter. The explosive charges were counting down, and the hive mother knew it was dying. "This way!" Velith shouted, pulling Jisoo through a side passage. Creatures came at them from every direction. Jisoo fired her rifle until it was empty, then grabbed a weapon from a fallen teammate. Velith's energy blast cut through the darkness like lightning. "How did you even get here?" Jisoo gasped between shots. "I followed your assault ship in a rescue pod. Your people tried to stop me, but I told them you would need help." Velith's voice was strange, proud, and afraid at the same time. "I was right." They burst into a small chamber and found something unexpected. Taiho was there, slumped against a wall. He was covered in blood, but he was still breathing. "Taiho!" Jisoo rushed to his side. "Captain?" His eyes flickered open. "You should have left me. Humans don't leave their people behind." She pulled his arm over her shoulder. "Velith, help me." Together, they lifted Taiho and continued running. The walls around them were starting to collapse. The hive mother was dying, and everything inside it was dying too. "There!" Velith pointed ahead. Through a torn opening in the creature's flesh, they could see stars. The exit. They stumbled out onto the surface of the hive mother just as a small ship appeared above them. It was a Sindari rescue pod, the same one Velith had arrived in. "I programmed it to follow me," Velith said. "Get in." They climbed aboard. Jisoo strapped Taiho into a medical bed while Velith took the controls. The pod lifted off just as the first explosions began. The processing node detonated. For a moment, the entire hive mother glowed white-hot. Then it began to tear itself apart. Jisoo watched through the viewport as the creature that had controlled billions died in fire and light. It was terrible and beautiful at the same time. "Look," Velith whispered Dot all across the battlefield. The Devourers were going mad. Without the processing node to guide them, they had no coordination, no strategy, no purpose. Some attacked each other. Some flew in random directions. Some simply stopped moving altogether. The human fleet didn't hesitate. Admiral Sunho's voice boomed across every channel. "All ships attack. Finish them." What followed was not a battle. It was a hunt. Human ships chased down Devourers that no longer knew how to fight back. Weapons that had struggled to do damage before now tore through creatures that didn't know how to defend themselves. In less than 6 hours. It was over. The Devourer swarm, a force that had eaten hundreds of galaxies, over 1 billion years, was destroyed. The galaxy was saved. 3 weeks later, Captain Park Jisoo stood before the Galactic Council once again. But everything was different now. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every surviving species. They looked at her with new eyes, not fear, but respect. Some even showed gratitude. Councilor Morthax approached her. His shell had healed, but he moved like a creature who had been broken in ways that couldn't be fixed. "Captain," he said formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer humanity our deepest apology." The hall fell silent. This was something that had never happened before. "We called your people dangerous," Morthax continued. "We called you unstable, irrational, violent. We locked you away like animals and hoped you would be forgotten." He paused. "We were wrong." Jisoo stood straight. She didn't smile or gloat. She simply listened. "When the Devourers came, we expected humanity to abandon us. You had every right to watch us die. Instead, you came to save us. Humans gave their lives for species that had shown them no kindness. We do not understand why." Morthax looked at her directly. "Can you explain it to us?" Jisoo thought about her grandmother, fighting raiders on a distant world. She thought about the crew of the Inshin, dying to clear a path. She thought about Taiho still recovering in a medical bay. She thought about Velith, an alien who had risked everything to save her. "We helped you," she said finally, "because that's what humans do. When someone is in danger, we help. When someone is hurting, we protect. It doesn't matter if they're family or strangers. It doesn't matter if they've been kind to us or cruel. We see suffering, and we respond." She paused. "You called us dangerous because of this. You were right, but not in the way you thought." She stepped forward, and her voice filled the hall. "Humans are dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. We are dangerous to those who prey on the weak. We are dangerous to those who believe that fear is stronger than hope, that cruelty is stronger than kindness, that hate is stronger than love." She smiled slightly. "You wanted to know what makes us dangerous? It's not our weapons. It's not our anger. It's our hearts." The hall was completely silent. Every being there was listening. The Devourers failed because they couldn't understand us. They expected us to act like every other species, to run when we were losing, to surrender when things looked hopeless. They didn't understand that humans don't fight because we think we'll win. We fight because some things are worth dying for. She turned to face Morthax directly. "The Council has offered us full membership. I am authorized to decline." Gasps echoed through the hall. "Instead," Jisoo continued, "humanity asks for something else. We ask that the dangerous species classification be abolished, not just for us, but for all species. We ask that no one ever be locked away for being different." Morthax was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "It will be done." The celebration that followed was the largest in galactic history. Species that had never spoken before shared food and stories. Old enemies became friends. And everywhere, humans were welcomed like heroes. But Jisoo didn't join the celebration. She returned to her ship, where Taiho was resting in the medical bay. He looked better. The wounds were healing. When he saw her, he smiled weakly. "I hear we won," he said. "We did." Jisoo sat beside his bed. "Thanks to people like you." "People like us," Taiho corrected. "I'm nothing special. I'm just human." Jisoo laughed softly. "That's exactly what makes us special." The door opened and Ambassador Velith entered. She had fully recovered and looked more beautiful than ever, her silver scales shining brightly. "I hope I am not interrupting," she said. "Not at all." Jisoo gestured for her to come closer. "I never got to thank you properly. You saved my life." "You didn't have to do that." Velith's large eyes were warm. "For weeks, I have been trying to understand why humans help those who hurt them. Now I finally have my answer." "What's that?" "It is what makes you truly dangerous." Velith moved closer. "Not your rage. Not your violence. Not your weapons or your armies. What makes humans dangerous is your mercy. Your ability to love even those who do not deserve it. Your refusal to become the monsters others believe you to be." Jisoo felt tears in her eyes. She didn't try to hide them. "That is a power no weapon can match," Velith concluded. "And that is why the Devourers could never defeat you. They knew how to fight hatred. They did not know how to fight love." Outside the ship, the stars stretched endlessly into the darkness. Somewhere out there, other threats were waiting. Other challenges would come, but humanity would be ready. Not because they were strong, not because they were fierce, but because they would never, ever stop protecting those who needed them. That was what it meant to be human. That was what it meant to be dangerous. The Battle of the Nexus Rift lasted for 72 hours. In that time, more weapons were fired than in all previous galactic wars combined. Ships exploded like stars. Bodies floated through the void by the millions. And still, neither side would stop. Captain Park Jisoo had never seen anything like it. The darkness of space was now lit by constant fire. Human ships darted between the massive forms of Devourer creatures, firing everything they had. The Devourers struck back with tentacles and acid and beams of pure destruction. "We've lost the battleship Inchin," someone shouted on the bridge. "The cruisers Daegu and Ulsan are heavily damaged. Medical ships are overwhelmed." Jisoo watched another ship explode on the main screen. 500 people. Gone in an instant. She pushed down her grief. There was no time for it now. "Keep firing," she ordered. "Focus on the larger creatures. Don't let them reform." That was the key they had discovered. The Devourers could heal themselves, could reform their bodies from almost any damage. But if you hit them hard enough and fast enough, they couldn't keep up. Human weapons weren't stronger than Council weapons. But humans didn't wait for their shots to work. They just kept shooting. On the other side of the battle, Councilor Morthax watched from the bridge of a Council observation ship. He had insisted on coming to see the humans fight. Now he wished he hadn't. "They're insane," he whispered. "Look at them." On his screen, a human frigate, a tiny ship with a crew of only 30, was attacking a Devourer creature the size of a moon. The frigate was on fire. Half its weapons were destroyed. It was clearly dying, but it wasn't retreating. Instead, it flew directly into the creature's mouth. A moment later, the creature exploded from the inside. Morthax's forearms trembled. Why would they do that? They knew they were going to die. "Because they took the enemy with them," said a council aide. "Humans call it a sacrifice." "No species should be capable of this," Morthax said. "No rational being would choose death like this." "Perhaps," the aide said quietly. "That is exactly the point." Back on the horizon's edge, Jisoo received a transmission from Admiral Sunho. His face was tired but determined. "Captain, Dr. Yuna has found something. She's located the processing node, the central mind of the Devourers." Jisoo's heart jumped. "Where?" "Inside the largest creature in their swarm. We're calling it the Hive Mother. It's the size of a small moon, and it's been staying at the back of the battle, protected by millions of smaller creatures. Can we reach it? That's the problem. No weapon can penetrate it from outside. The only way to destroy the node is to get inside and blow it up from within." Jisoo understood immediately. "You need a boarding party. I need volunteers. People who understand they probably won't come back." Jisoo looked at her bridge crew. They were tired, scared, and hurting. But when they met her eyes, she saw something else. She saw determination. She saw courage. "I'll lead the team myself," she said. "Captain." Taiho started to protest. "This isn't a debate," Jisoo said firmly. "Get me 40 of our best fighters. And Taiho, you're coming too." 20 minutes later, the boarding team was assembled. 40 humans in combat suits, armed with every weapon they could carry. Among them was Chief Engineer Han Murray, who had insisted on joining to handle any technical challenges inside the Hive Mother. "This is crazy," Murray said cheerfully as they loaded into the assault ship. "I love it." Jisoo allowed herself a small smile. "Stay close to me, and whatever you see in there, don't stop moving." The assault ship launched from the horizon's edge and dove into the battle. All around them, the war raged on. Human ships created a corridor through the swarm, sacrificing themselves to clear a path. "Thank you," Jisoo whispered to the ships that died for them. "We won't waste this." The Hive Mother grew larger and larger in their viewport. Up close, it was even more horrifying than the images had shown. Its surface was covered in mouths, thousands of them, all different sizes, all lined with teeth. Eyes watched them from every direction. Tentacles reached out hungrily. "There," Murray pointed. "That opening, it looks like some kind of intake port. We can get in through there." The pilot nodded and flew straight toward it. The ship shook as tentacles struck their hull. Alarm screamed. Metal groaned. Then they were inside. The interior of the hive mother was like being inside a living nightmare. The walls pulsed and breathed. Fluid dripped from the ceiling. Strange lights flickered in the darkness. "Move out," Jisoo ordered. Formation tight. Weapons hot. The team advanced through tunnels of living flesh. They fought creatures that grew from the walls, horrible things with too many legs and teeth. Myra used her engineering tools to cut through barriers that blocked their path. Taiho led the point team, his rifle never stopping. "We're getting close," Myra shouted. "The node should be through this chamber." They burst into a massive space. And there, at the center, was the processing node dot. It was beautiful in a terrible way. A sphere of pure energy, surrounded by millions of neural connections that spread throughout the entire Devourer swarm. This was the brain of the beast. This was what controlled everything. "Set the charges," Jisoo ordered. But before they could move, the chamber came alive. Creatures poured from every wall, every floor, every ceiling. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. The team opened fire. They fought with everything they had. But there were too many enemies, and the creatures kept coming. "We're being overrun." Someone screamed. Tae-ho took a hit. Then another. He fell to his knees, blood flowing from wounds in his chest and leg. "Taiho!" Jisoo ran to him. "Keep going," he gasped. "Finish the mission. I'll hold them here. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice." He pushed her away and raised his rifle. "Go, Captain. Finish this." "That's an order." Jisoo wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She grabbed the remaining team members and pushed toward the node dot behind her. She heard Taiho's rifle firing. She heard his voice shouting in defiance. She heard him fighting until he couldn't fight anymore. Myra reached the node first. Her hands flew over the controls of the explosive charges. 30 seconds to arm. The creatures were closing in. The remaining team members formed a circle, firing outward, protecting Myra as she worked. 20 seconds. More team members fell. Now there were only 10 of them left. Then 8. Then 5. 10 seconds. Jisoo fired until her rifle was empty. Then she drew her pistol. Then her knife. She would fight until she had nothing left. "Armed!" Myra shouted. Charges set. 2 minutes to detonation. 2 minutes. They had to get out in 2 minutes. Jisoo looked at the creatures surrounding them, at the fallen bodies of her team, at the impossible distance between them and escape. "Run," she ordered. "Everyone run." The survivors sprinted for the exit. But Jisoo stayed. Someone had to make sure the creatures didn't disarm the charges. Someone had to hold the line. She picked up another rifle from a fallen soldier. She prepared to die. Then, from nowhere, a hand grabbed her arm. She spun around. It was Ambassador Velith in a combat suit, holding a Sindari energy weapon. "What are you doing here?" Jisoo gasped. "Returning the favor," Velith said. "Now move. I did not come all this way to watch you die." Together they ran. Deep beneath the mountains of Earth, in a place that officially did not exist, Admiral Beak Sunho stood before a window that looked down into the largest shipyard in human history. The Council had believed that humans accepted their punishment. They believed that humanity had given up its dreams of expansion and conquest. They believed that the dangerous species had been tamed. They were wrong. For 30 years, humanity had been building. Not colonies, not trade stations, ships, warships. Thousands of them, hidden in secret places across human space. The Council's observers never found them because humans knew how to hide. They knew how to wait. And they knew that someday, something would come that would make the galaxy need them. That day had arrived. Admiral Sunho was an old man with white hair and a face like carved stone. He had fought in 3 colonial wars before the Council forced humanity to stop. He had trained every captain in the human fleet. And now, at the age of 72, he was going to lead humanity into the biggest battle in galactic history. "The fleet is ready, sir," said his aide, a young lieutenant named Quan Do-yoon. "All ships report fully armed and operational." "How many?" Sun Ho asked. 12,000 combat vessels, 4,000 support ships, 2 million ground troops ready for deployment. Sun Ho nodded slowly. 12,000 ships against billions of devourers. The numbers were hopeless. But humans had never cared much about numbers. The door behind him opened, and Dr. Choi Yuno walked in. She was a small woman with messy hair and bright eyes that never stopped moving. She was the most brilliant xenobiologist on Earth, and she had spent the last week studying every piece of data about the devourers that she could find. "Tell me you have something," Sun Ho said. Yuna smiled. It was not a happy smile. "I have something. Whether it's useful is another question." She pulled up a holographic display. Images of the devourers appeared, their ships, their bodies, their patterns of attack. "The devourers are not really aliens," she began. "Not in the way we think of aliens. They're more like a galaxy-sized organism. All those billions of creatures are really just cells in one massive body, controlled by one central mind." "So if we kill the mind, we kill them all?" Sun Ho asked. "In theory, yes. The problem is finding it. The central mind, I call it the processing node, is hidden somewhere in their swarm. It could be in any one of billions of bodies. And even if we found it, getting to it would be nearly impossible." Lieutenant Quan looked worried. "So what's our advantage? What can humans do that the other species couldn't?" Yuna's smile grew wider. "Everything." She changed the display to show human biology, hearts, brains, muscles, chemical reactions. "The other species in this galaxy are more advanced than us in many ways. Better technology, longer lifespans, more peaceful societies. But there's something they don't have that we do." She pointed at the display. "We're hunters." Sun Ho raised an eyebrow. "Hunters?" "Persistence hunters, specifically. For millions of years, humans survived by chasing prey across open land until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. We didn't need to be faster or stronger. We just needed to never stop." Yuna's eyes were bright with excitement. "The Devourers have been eating civilizations for 1 billion years. But they've never encountered a species like us. A species that gets more dangerous when things look hopeless. A species that fights harder when it's wounded. A species that refuses to accept defeat, even when defeat is certain." "The other species ran," Sun Ho said slowly. "They tried to negotiate. They tried to surrender." "Exactly. And the Devourers know how to handle that. But they don't know how to handle us. We're going to do things that no rational species would do. We're going to attack when we should retreat. We're going to keep fighting when we should surrender. We're going to break every rule of survival." Yuna laughed. "We're going to confuse them to death." Sun Ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, the first smile anyone had seen on his face in weeks. "Then let's go hunting." 3 days later, the human fleet jumped to the front lines. Captain Park Jeju was there, her ship now part of the largest fighting force humanity had ever assembled. The Council species watched in shock as human ships appeared by the thousands. They had never imagined that the dangerous species possessed such power. Some felt relief. Others felt a new kind of fear. Jisu's first officer, Taiho, stood beside her on the bridge. "The Devourers have taken the Nexus station," he reported. "It was one of the Council's biggest military bases. If we're going to make a stand, that's the place to start." "Then that's where we're going," Jisu said. Ambassador Veleth watched from her tank on the bridge. Jisu had insisted she stay aboard. She said it was for diplomatic purposes, but really, she just wanted to give the ambassador a front row seat. "You're really going to attack the Nexus?" Velith asked. "Captain, the Devourers have millions of creatures there. Your fleet is impressive, but the odds don't matter," Jisoo said simply. "We're not fighting to win. We're fighting to show them what humans are." The fleet moved into position. On every ship, human crews prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They said goodbye to their families. They made peace with whatever gods they believed in. Admiral Sunho's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. Every human heard his words. "Today, we fight for more than our own survival. We fight for a galaxy that feared us, hated us, and locked us away. We fight for species that never lifted a hand to help us when we needed it." He paused. When he continued, his voice was like iron. "Some of you might wonder why we should risk our lives for people who treated us like monsters. Here is your answer, because that is exactly what monsters would not do. Today, we prove that the Council was wrong about us. Today, we show the galaxy what it really means to be dangerous." The channel fell silent. Then, from 12,000 ships, came a single sound, human voices roaring together, louder than any weapon, stronger than any fear. Jisoo felt tears on her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. "All ships," she said into her communicator. "Attack." The human fleet charged into the darkness. The Devourers rose to meet them. And for the first time in a billion years, the ancient hunters encountered something they had never seen before: prey that fought back. The darkness moved faster than anyone expected. Within 3 days, it had crossed distances that should have taken years. Within a week, it had reached the first inhabited worlds. Captain Park Jisoo watched the reports come in from her ship. The horizon's edge. Each report was worse than the last. The Kethany were the first to fall. They were a peaceful species who lived on crystal worlds at the galaxy's edge. They had no military. They had no weapons. When the darkness came, they sent messages of greeting, believing that all intelligent life must share their love of peace. The darkness ate them. Every world, every ship, every living thing. In less than 2 days, the Kethany were gone. A species that had existed for 50,000 years was simply erased. "What are they?" Taiho asked. He stood beside Jisoo on the bridge, his face pale as he read the data. "The Sindari are calling them the Devourers," Jisoo said. "They're not from our galaxy. They came from the void between galaxies, a billion years of travel, hunting for life to consume." "Consume?" Taiho looked sick. "You mean they eat people?" "They eat everything. Ships, buildings, people, even the atmosphere of planets. They break matter down to its smallest parts and use it to make more of themselves." Jisoo pulled up an image on the screen. "Look." The image showed something that hurt to look at. It was a ship, but not like any ship built by intelligent hands. It was alive. Its surface moved and pulsed like skin. Eyes dotted its hull, thousands of them, all different sizes, all looking in different directions. Tentacles stretched from its body, each 1 kilometers long. "There are millions of these things," Jisoo said quietly. "Maybe billions. And they're all connected to one mind." Taiho sat down heavily. "Can anything stop them?" 3 council species have tried. The Moradi fired their plasma weapons. The Devourers absorbed the energy and grew stronger. The Velith used their gravity bombs. The Devourers adapted within hours and became immune. The Crystari attacked with their light ships. Jisoo's voice caught. "The Crystari are gone now." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of machines. Then Chief Engineer Han Murray's voice came over the speaker. "Captain, you need to see the news feed from the Sindari homeworld. Jisoo switched the main screen to the news channel. What she saw made her heart stop. The Sundari homeworld was a water planet, beautiful and blue, covered in floating cities and underwater kingdoms. The Sundari had been one of the galaxy's most advanced species. Their shields were supposed to be unbreakable. Their fleet was supposed to be mighty. On the screen, Jisoo watched that fleet burn. The Devourers swarmed around the planet like flies around meat. Sundari ships exploded one after another. The shields of the floating cities flickered and died. And then the Devourers began to feed. The camera showed people running, screaming. Sundari families trying to reach escape pods. Children crying for their parents. And behind them, the darkness came, consuming everything it touched. "Turn it off," Taiho whispered. Jisoo couldn't move. She couldn't look away. Millions of people were dying in front of her, and there was nothing she could do. Then she saw something that gave her hope. A small ship broke free from the chaos. It was damaged and burning, but it was moving fast, heading away from the planet. "Track that ship," Jisoo ordered. "I think I know who's on it." 2 hours later, they pulled Ambassador Veleth's escape pod into their cargo bay. The ambassador was badly hurt. Her tank was cracked, and she was barely breathing. The medical team rushed her to the sickbay. Jisoo waited outside the door until the doctors let her in. Veleth floated weakly in a new tank, her silver scales now dull and gray. "Ambassador," Jisoo said gently. "You're safe now." "Safe?" Veleth's laugh was bitter. "Nowhere is safe, Captain. They destroyed everything. My world, my people, my family." Tears mixed with the water around her face. "We thought we were so advanced. We thought our shields made us strong. We were nothing to them, nothing." Jisoo touched the glass of the tank. "I'm sorry. Sorry will not save us." Veleth looked at her with desperate eyes. "The council is meeting now. They are panicked and fighting with each other. Morthax still refuses to believe this is really happening. He keeps saying there must be a solution, some technology that can stop the Devourers. Is there?" "No." Veleth's voice was hollow. "We have tried everything. Every weapon, every strategy, every defense. The Devourers adapt to all of it. They have been doing this for 1 billion years, Captain. They have eaten hundreds of galaxies. They know every trick, every technology. There is nothing in this galaxy that can stop them." Jisoo felt the weight of those words settle on her shoulders. But something in her refused to accept them. "There's one thing you haven't tried," she said. Veleth looked at her. "What do you mean?" "Us, humans." Veleth was quiet for a moment. The council would never ask humans for help. Morthax would rather die than admit he needs the dangerous species. Then let him die. Jisoo's voice was hard. "But if there's even a small chance that we can help, shouldn't we try?" Before Veleth could answer, Taiho's voice came over the speaker. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the council chambers. It's marked urgent and confidential. It's addressed to Earth." Jisoo and Veleth looked at each other. "Put it through," Jisoo said. The screen on the wall flickered to life. Councilor Morthax appeared, and Jisoo barely recognized him. His shell was cracked. His forearms hung limp. His eyes, once so cold and proud, were filled with fear. "This message is for the human government," Morthax said. His voice was broken. I am begging for your assistance. The Galactic Council faces a threat beyond our ability to defeat. We have lost 7 species in 10 days. We will lose more. Without help, we will all die." He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "I know how we have treated your people. I know the things I've said about humans. I know we called you dangerous and locked you away. I am not asking you to forgive us. I am asking you to save us, please." The message ended. Jisoo stood frozen. She thought about her grandmother, fighting raiders with nothing but a farming tool. She thought about the Kethani, who had greeted the Devourers with open arms. She thought about the Sindari children crying for their parents. What will Earth say? Velith asked. Jisoo already knew the answer. She knew it in her bones, in her blood, in the deepest part of her human heart. 2 hours later, Earth's response reached the Council. We remember how you treated us. We're coming anyway. Across human space, ships began to move. The dangerous species was going to war. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a place of wonder. Crystal pillars rose hundreds of meters into the air. Floating platforms carried diplomats from 1,000 different worlds. Light from distant stars poured through massive windows, painting everything in soft gold and blue. Captain Park Jisoo stood at the center of it all, and she had never felt more alone. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and black hair pulled back in a tight braid. Her uniform was simple and dark, marked only with the small Earth symbol on her shoulder. Around her floated the representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species. They looked at her the way someone might look at a dangerous animal that had wandered into their home. The Council recognizes the human delegation, said Councillor Morthax. His voice clicked and buzzed through the translator device. He was an insectoid creature, nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and eyes like polished black stones. He led the Council, and he had never hidden his hatred for humanity. Jisoo stepped forward. Her boots made soft sounds on the crystal floor. Thank you, Counselor. I come to speak on behalf of Earth and all human colonies. We request that the Council reconsider our classification as a dangerous species. A murmur passed through the hall. Some of the aliens shifted uncomfortably. Others made sounds of disgust. Morthax raised one of his arms for silence. This request has been made before. It has been denied before. What makes you believe this time will be different? Jisoo kept her voice calm. 50 years have passed since first contact. 30 years have passed since the incident that earned us this classification. In that time, humanity has not started a single conflict. We have honored every treaty. We have stayed within the boundaries you gave us. You have stayed in your cage, Morthax said. This does not make you less dangerous. It only means the cage is working. Jisoo felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. This was exactly what they expected from humans. This was exactly what she could not show them. May I remind the Council what actually happened 30 years ago? She asked. Morthax's eyes seemed to grow darker. That will not be necessary. I think it is. Jisoo turned to address the whole hall. 30 years ago, human colonists on the world called New Bizon were attacked by raiders. These raiders were not from any Council species. They came from the Outer Rim, and they came to take slaves. The hall was silent now. Every eye and sensor was fixed on her. The colonists sent a distress call to the nearest Council patrol. That patrol was commanded by the Velith species. They received a call. They had the power to help. Jisoo paused. They chose not to. They said it was not their responsibility to protect a dangerous species. Captain, Morthax began. The colonists had no military ships, Jisoo continued. They had no weapons beyond what they could make with their hands. They were farmers, teachers, and children. And when they understood that no help was coming, they did not surrender. They did not run. They fought. She could see it in her mind. Her grandmother had been there. She had told Jisoo the stories many times. They fought with farming tools. They fought with rocks. They set fires and built traps. They held the raiders back for 11 days until a human rescue ship arrived. Jisoo's voice grew stronger. When it was over, the raiders were broken. Their leader was dead. And the galaxy learned what happens when you attack human families. This is exactly the problem, Morthax said. No other species would respond with such violence. No other species would continue fighting in a situation so hopeless. You do not know when to stop. You do not know when to accept defeat. We know how to protect our people, Jisoo said. Is that such a terrible thing? Before Morthax could answer, another voice spoke up. It was soft and musical, like water flowing over stones. Perhaps we should consider the human's words more carefully. Jisoo turned. The speaker was Ambassador Velith, a Sundari diplomat. The Sundari were an aquatic species. Velith floated in a tank of blue water mounted on a hovering platform. Her body was long and graceful, with silver scales that caught the light. Her large eyes were kind. The Sundari have studied humanity, Velith continued. We have found them strange, yes, frightening at times. But we have also found them capable of great kindness, great sacrifice. Perhaps the council judges too quickly. Morthax made a sound of irritation. The Sundari are known for their soft hearts. This does not change the facts. Humans are unstable. Their emotions control them. They form pack bonds so strong that they will die for creatures they have known only days. This is not rational behavior. No, Velith agreed. But sometimes irrational behavior is what the galaxy needs. Morthax waved his arm dismissively. The Council's decision stands. Humanity will remain classified as a dangerous species. They will remain in their designated sector. This meeting is concluded. Jisoo wanted to argue more, but she knew it would do no good. She bowed stiffly and turned to leave Dot. As she walked toward the exit, she felt a gentle touch on her arm. She looked down and saw one of Velith's water drones floating beside her. The small machine carried the ambassador's voice. Captain, please wait. Jisoo stopped. Ambassador? Walk with me. There is something you must know. They moved to a quiet corner of the great hall. Velith's tank floated close, and her voice came out low and urgent. Something is coming, the ambassador said. Our long-range sensors have detected movement at the galaxy's edge. Something vast. Something that has never been seen before. Jisoo felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of movement? We do not know yet. But the readings are wrong. Whatever is out there, it is not natural. And it is heading toward populated space. Have you told the council? Velith's expression was sad. I have tried. Morthax refuses to listen. He says our sensors must be damaged. He says there is nothing beyond the galaxy that could threaten us. She paused. He is wrong. Jisoo looked back at the Great Hall, at all the powerful beings who thought humans were the most dangerous thing in the universe. What do you want me to do? Watch, prepare, and when the time comes, Velith's large eyes met hers. Remember that some of us never believed you were monsters. Jisoo nodded slowly. She returned to her ship with a heavy heart. Her first officer, Yoon Tae-ho, met her at the airlock. He was a solid man with a calm face and steady hands. He had served with her for 10 years. How did it go? He asked. The same as always, Jisoo said. They still hate us. They still fear us. Tae-ho sighed. Then nothing changes. No. Jisoo looked out the viewport at the stars. Far away, at the edge of everything, something was moving. She could almost feel it. Everything is about to change. The ship's alarm suddenly screamed. Red lights flashed across every surface. Captain, the sensor officer shouted. We're detecting a massive energy signature at the galaxy's edge. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Jisoo and Tae-ho ran to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see it a wave of darkness spreading across the stars, swallowing everything in its path. The dangerous species had just found something more dangerous than themselves.